Well, let me talk about this. This partnership is really what CSU is all about. Engaging the entrepreneurial community, the big companies to the small companies, to the INNOSPHERE. Mike Freeman is the CEO of, and you'll hear all about that. But it really is about stimulating innovation, right? And so when we talked about this and putting this together, we really wanted to bring back that entrepreneurial spirit. Now, remember, gentlemen, you are standing between these people and the reception when that wall goes down. So we will stop at around 5 o'clock because I know you're all hungry. So let me introduce our mayor of Fort Collins, Wade Troxell.
Thank you, Maury, and thank you all for being here today. A little over a year ago, I had the honor to be in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian, the U.S. Museum of American History, where Fort Collins is featured as a place of innovation. 6 cities are featured in that exhibit, and Fort Collins is featured in the 2010s going forward around clean, renewable energy. And this is, what we're doing today is really indicative of I think, what that exhibit really reflects. And it reflects not only Fort Collins and the kind of community that we are, but it really talks about collaboration. And in this particular Innovate Fort Collins, the EV Charging Challenge is all about that. So I claim unapologetically that Fort Collins is an innovation community, and that innovation Fort Collins is at the DNA of our community. And with Colorado State University, the kinds of companies that we have here, the kinds of startups that we have, and the kind of a city government that we have is that we look at our city as a platform for innovation. And so I'm pleased to be here today to be part of this unique partnership between the city of Fort Collins, Colorado State University, and the INNOSPHERE in this EV charging challenge. We hosted a competition to solve problems of some of the challenges related to our road to 2020, which is on our way to carbon neutrality for the city of Fort Collins. City of Fort Collins is one of the most ambitious carbon neutrality goals for 2050. And when we talk about innovation, we recognize that there is at least 4 different types of innovation needed to achieve our goals. And what was pointed out in the last presentation, really technology plays a key role in innovation, but also it was also pointed out in the last session too is financial innovation, different business model, value propositions that come out. Also social innovation, and how as a community and socially we can engage and understand and accept these newer business models, but also these transformations of, for example, our electric system just in the last presentation as well. And also political innovation. All those play a key role in what defines innovation. All of them have components of innovation. So the Innovate Fort Collins Challenge encourages businesses and their new technologies to help our community solve key problems in our rapidly evolving energy environment. We want to be at the leading edge and find solutions that not only benefit Fort Collins, but also can benefit other communities and throughout the United States and the world. So we want to be part of those solutions, and that's where we're really fostering this community of innovation. And to do that, fostering the innovation requires collaboration. The city aims to be a platform to support the innovation economy and to assure that our businesses can take advantage of new and emerging opportunities. So our goal is to have a beneficial relationship with the businesses who are seeking to demonstrate their new innovative products and to help them provide a case study to scale their products to the market. And this is where we can do the role of the city government in this is to actually have a platform for innovation. It's much like we have roads and those sorts of things, and you locate your retail on the roads to create a market in our community. We can also look at our electric utilities and our water utilities and our stormwater and so forth as platform for innovation, and we intend on doing that. And so our challenge then to businesses is to request for and look for these technological solutions to help Fort Collins utilities better understand how and when individuals and how businesses, in this case for this EV charging challenge, are charging their electric vehicles. And so our assumption is that that most, and this was pointed out last session as well, that the EV electric vehicle owners charge when they get home at the end of the day. So this can have big impacts on how the energy usage works in our electric load, particularly on hot summer months, since we're a summer peaking community. And so, as in conclusion, to better our understandings and to have data related to real-world charging platforms and patterns, this will help our Fort Collins utilities, and we have Tim here today representing them, better plan and better utilize for and to better incorporate for our future electrical demand and the infrastructure that will require that. And with that, I want to introduce Mike Freeman, and he's our private sector partner in this as the CEO of the INNOSPHERE, and he's a partner on the competition to share a little bit more about the INNOSPHERE, and he announced the winner of the first competition. Mike?
So good afternoon. My name is Mike Freeman. Wade, thanks for kicking this off. That was great. I was just sitting here thinking about, it's really good to be in Northern Colorado, right? You get to come to an event like this today. You got a university and, city providing leadership for the community that is not typical all over the country. And I think it's pretty exciting. Just maybe pointing the obvious out, but we're really glad to be here and be a part of this today. So let me give you just a little bit of background on the INNOSPHERE. We're a 501c3, meaning nonprofit. We've been doing technology incubator work. This is our 17th year in business. And our core focus is working with companies that have a science and technology basis. So you think about Colorado for a minute from an energy perspective, which you're hearing about today and tomorrow. Colorado ranks 5th nationally in employment concentration in traditional energy and 4th in renewables. So in one state, you have a high concentration of traditional energy and renewables all in one place. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's exciting to be at INNOSPHERE and why we love doing the work we do. The companies that are approaching really hard challenges around energy, water, transportation, storage, life sciences, those are kind of companies we love working with and really proud to be a part of the community here that supports them. Over the last 6 years, we've helped 53 companies come through the INNOSPHERE program successfully. We call it graduation. Those companies over that time period raised $220 million and created about 1,400 jobs. These are high-tech, high-paying jobs in and around the metro area, Fort Collins, Boulder, Denver. So we really like to think of ourselves as an organization that creates impact, not only for the communities we serve, but also for the companies. So we kind of measure that a little bit differently, kind of depending on how we're looking at our metrics. So this opportunity around Road to 2020 carbon neutrality, here's kind of the interesting genesis of all this. The City of Fort Collins asked INNOSPHERE to participate as effectively a technology advisor, for maybe lack of a better word. In the planning process, it was leading up to the Climate Action Plan, the ultimate document that was created. And one of the meetings, I was kind of sitting there listening to this pretty audacious, big goal that the community has. And what struck me was, like our private sector partners, what the city was really doing is mapping out a long-term technology roadmap. That's fantastic for organizations like us because, a public utility that's starting to broadcast where the utility is going to be going in water, energy, the city side, if you will, outside of utilities and transportation and solid waste. That's fantastic for us to get that kind of framework. And then we're better able to match companies up and find companies that are relevant for ultimate customers like the City of Fort Collins. That's where this idea was born. So we started having informal conversations with city staff about this idea of could INNOSPHERE, as part of the value that we provide the City of Fort Collins as one of our main partners, could we help them take a private sector approach to technology scouting? That's all we're doing. And so this is really the first of what we hope is going to be multiple technology challenges that we're going to be involved in with the city. So we'll have to see how that goes. I'm planting that seed. So hopefully that happens. So you think about carbon reduction overall, and the mayor already stated it well, there's multiple ways that you have to create innovation to get there. Obviously, we're focused on the technology side. That's what we do. So this idea of Innovate Fort Collins was born, and thanks to leadership of CSU and Maury, who's organized this event, we kind of got this pulled together in record time. Tim with the city utilities came up with his staff with an idea around a real technology challenge that this community is facing as more and more people adopt electric vehicles. And the implications of that, if you're the utility owner, this grid was not designed for lots and lots of electric vehicles and AC and other electric, high consumption devices running at the same time. That's fundamentally the challenge we threw out, to see what would come back from innovators like Matt, you're going to meet in just a minute. And so we've been running this Innovate Fort Collins over the last couple of months. And it started with a pretty straightforward process of going out, kind of what we'd consider into the innovation network across the country, and seeking companies out. And that was the first step, and that was in the summer. August, we went through a process selecting the companies and interviewing them. And then today, which is really exciting, we have the award winner here, and it's going to tell you more about what they're doing. And I guess maybe the last thing I'll say is, again, from the INNOSPHERE standpoint and our team who's here, really, really proud to be a major partner with the city, with Colorado State, with CSU Ventures, and really look forward to a long-term continued collaboration. So with that, I'd like to introduce Matt Raymond with Cumulus, and he'll tell you about the really exciting technology they're bringing to market that addresses this challenge.
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be back in Fort Collins. I love this city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mike, for inviting me to come in and talk about our exciting technology and the opportunity that it presents for this particular challenge. So let's jump right into it. Cumulus is a startup company. My partner and I have been working on it for about 10 months. The technology has emerged out of Argonne National Laboratories, one of the DOE laboratories located west of the city of Chicago. We've been working on this technology with the goal of building an advanced plug-in electric vehicle grid integration network. That's our long-term goal. But our short-term goal is to take a charging station for an electric vehicle that may be a high school dropout and give it a PhD level education. So to do this, we've been working through a variety of activities and a variety of potential partners. And you probably have seen much of this slide through the talks, or this information through the talks already. PEV drivers, PEV users, fleets, et cetera, are dealing with charging hardware that will charge up their batteries so that they can drive places. There is a software platform sometimes associated with those charging stations, not always. Some of them are just plain dumb with high school dropout. And then there's the energy source that comes into play. And then finally, we have the overall benefits of integrating these various players into the network, accelerating electric vehicle adoption, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and trying to mitigate the grid impacts that electric vehicles may have that have already been discussed. So our technology is a hardware device that is a plug-and-play device that goes directly between the charging station and the electric vehicle itself. It has the capability of metering, acting essentially as a sub-meter, monitoring, so it has a communication platform for real-time updates and management, as well as data relays. Has the ability to control, which is, as we've heard from some of the speakers today, that's an important consideration, because if everybody plugs in between 5 and 6 p.m., then we have a surge on the grid or a high level of need for energy. Well, is it possible to control that? Yes, this device will enable grid operators and utilities to go ahead and schedule the charging process for those electric vehicle drivers who are interested in participating in such a program. So this is an example of our prototype in use, and besides the three things that we've mentioned, it is hardware agnostic. It works with any J1772 system, and it works with both level 1 and level 2 charging stations. We have anti-theft measures put into it, so if you are a PEV driver or if you are a user of this, such as a multi-unit dwelling, or a fleet operator, you can actually move this around with your vehicle and make sure that you lock it into place. And it's safe. So we're designing it so that we're not going to have any risks associated with electrocution, as an extreme example, or damage that might be caused by dropping or something like that. It has a back-end software technology, so it's machine learning. We're basing it on a Wi-Fi platform. It has a user web application that is to be expected. Station owners will be able to configure this, monitor and control it to meet their specific needs. There is a smartphone app at this time that enables the electric vehicle drivers to monitor and control their own charging behavior if they so choose. And we also are building in machine learning associated with that so that we have the capability of optimizing grid services and exploring opportunities that this software technology might enable for utilities, for consumers, et cetera. So where are we at? Well, this technology has already been developed. As I mentioned, we already have a prototype in place. It's been tested at the Electric Vehicle Smart Grid Interoperability Center at Argonne National Laboratory. We've done some business development on it, customer discovery through the Department of Energy's LabCorp program and through the Clean Tech Open Accelerator program. We've done some design at this point, and we are about to produce 30 alpha prototypes, which will be validated at Argonne National Laboratory in a short study. But then we want to do an actual off-site validation. So we want a real-world validation for this, and this is where this challenge comes into play. We can now take the Innovate Fort Collins challenge, validate our alpha prototypes and our software in real-world conditions, and this is going to help us get to the ultimate goal of beta design, product commercialization. So this fits with our needs perfectly. Our driving goal behind this is that we want to rigorously test and validate these designs for reliability, for safety, and for endurance. These are key factors that we want to build into all of our technologies. So our goals for the challenge that we see them, we want to validate the features that we've built in, discover if there are opportunities for new features that we hadn't thought about through customer interviews. We want to do durability testing. You get all kinds of crazy weather in Fort Collins and all throughout the United States and in Europe where electric vehicles are predominantly used. So we want to make sure that the device can handle the extremes of weather that it might face in various locales. We're looking for user feedback too. So those electric vehicle drivers who will be testing this, we'll be asking them questions, getting an idea, how do you like it, how does it work, did you put it in a drawer after 1 day's worth of use? That tells us a lot of information. So this is going to be an important aspect for the challenge as well. Ultimately, we want to get to that minimum viable product so that we have that commercially viable technology that we can take out to the market and that the market is going to accept. So this is my team. The young guy there is the actual engineer who designed this. He's an Argonne employee. So Rich and I are collaborating with him. I am an intellectual property and licensing expert, and I've done startups over the past 15 years. And Rich, my partner, is a commercialization expert, so he knows how to advance technologies beyond the startup stage. So with that, I'd like to thank you, and I think, Tim, you're up next.
I'm fully aware that I'm the last thing standing between you and that wall, and so I will keep my comments brief. If you would humor me for just a second, I'd like to do an informal survey. How many in the audience today are daily electric vehicle drivers and owners? That's more hands than I expected. We've done projections in our system, and there's a certain threshold based on those assumptions of how many vehicles we can accommodate on our distribution system. That's where this technology is so exciting for us. The vision of the City of Fort Collins is to provide world-class municipal services through operational excellence and a culture of innovation. And for us, innovation is about partnerships. We're honored to kick the tires with Cumulus in providing the city as a platform to test drive their technology for winning the EV charging challenge. This competition got the green light for us because of several challenges facing our community. In 2005, half of our community greenhouse gas emissions came from the electricity sector, and 25% of the remaining came from transportation. The city, as you heard earlier, has adopted goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions levels 20% from 2005 by 2020, 80% by 2030, and 100% reduction by 2050, achieving carbon neutrality. There's a battery of strategies that will move us towards these goals, such as shifting our electric sources towards renewables at all scales, utility, community, and residential, and accelerating as a community the adoption of electric vehicles. These strategies will create a future grid with new demands like vehicle charging, combined with electricity sources that are inherently stop and go. The charge of the Innovate Fort Collins Challenge is to better understand how and when individuals and businesses are charging their vehicles. This understanding is fundamental to us as an electric utility and planning for the infrastructure for the future. The platform that Cumulus is developing is also exciting to us because it has potential far beyond the immediate challenge of understanding charging patterns. With this technology, any charger regenerates into a smart charger. These chargers then plug into the smart grid, and the electric vehicle reverses from a demand and a drain on the grid, allowing it to become a valuable asset to the grid. So please join me in congratulating Cumulus on winning the Innovate Fort Collins EV Charging Challenge.